to another episode of Rooted and Restored. My name is Lisa Rowe. I have the honor and privilege of serving as the founder and CEO here at Rooted, and I'm here with my stepdaughter. I guess we've been out of sync a little bit for the last couple podcasts. Mm-hmm. So here we are back again. And in light of all of that, Kelly, we've decided that because our folks that are listening to our podcast are really telling us that this podcast is like therapy in between sessions for them. I'm kind of shocked about that. That wasn't what I initially thought this was going to be. But as they tell us this, I feel like what I'm leaning into now is this idea that I want to talk about the things that are coming up in my office. Mm-hmm. And for you too, the invitation exists. And as they come up, I feel like I just want to provide a space here in our podcast so that it can live on outside of the sessions that I'm having with clients, and maybe provide something that clients can turn back to, folks can listen to again, and that we can continue to kind of nourish the growth that we're all walking through. So today we're going to be talking about the pain that lives inside of us. We're going to be inviting some conversations about some recent experiences I've had as what I'm going to call a somatic healer. Mm-hmm. I was recently certified as a yoga instructor. And before you go judging, for some of my Christian followers out there, hang tight, because I promise we're going to break that down today. But it's really about just understanding how pain lives in the body. And how to release that pain without hurting everybody around you, without creating toxicity, but not living in that toxicity either. Finding exit strategies, I guess we will, or healing mechanisms for that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Callie. She's going to be the interviewer today. I'll be in the hot seat. And of course, you know, as we always do, there's going to be some improv and some things that you probably will share as well. But for the most part, I'm just going to be sharing from my heart and from my experiences, and we'll see where it takes us.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So I think we should just jump right into it. Okay. I think most of the time in therapy, as a supervisor, right, you pride yourself on bringing metaphors, bringing examples into therapy, and taking your clients outside of their experiences and being able to see their situation from a different lens. Mm-hmm. And the world of a difference that it makes for clients, right? Mm-hmm. It makes sense, but until, I feel like that's not something taught in school a lot, right? It's mostly the book, right? Mm-hmm. So then you were able to kind of shed light on something else, and anytime I've ever brought that into sessions, especially with kids, right, it makes a world of a difference. Mm-hmm. Or you get to the deeper root, which is what we pride ourselves on trying to do.
Right.
So you brought something today that you do a lot of times in sessions mm-hmm. with your clients. And I think talking about pain and how it lives in your body is something that's been a normal conversation for you to have within sessions. Mm-hmm. But watching you go through getting your 200 hours, right, you went to a deeper level with it, or were able to kind of see it from a different lens and see how somatic healing can just intensify the benefits mm-hmm. of this topic that's been so common for you to bring into sessions. Mm-hmm. So I want you to kind of just take it away, show the metaphor, and just act like you're in session, kind of.
Absolutely. So today what I brought was my favorite drink. Don't crucify me for this. Love my Diet Coke, and I'm going to ruin it here in just a minute. I hate that. But I brought I sometimes say 2-liter bottle, but we're going to call this whatever this size is. But basically what I want us to kind of understand is that inside this bottle, it's like inside of our body, mm-hmm. right? And so we have what's called maybe a regulated state and an unregulated state. And a lot of our experiences have the humanity of us, or the physiological parts of us, were created to be able to respond to things that maybe we need to be afraid of, mm-hmm. we need to be alert for, and we also need to know when it's time to be calm and peaceful. And when we all come into the world in a very peaceful place, there's a balance there. Unfortunately, as we walk through our lives, this kind of message gets sent to our nervous system, and sometimes that message kind of gets defragged. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that, you know, we want to be alerted if we're in a dark alley and we hear something, right? Be afraid, right? And that sends a message to our nervous system: be afraid, fight, flight, or freeze, figure something out here, protect yourself. But sometimes what happens is we have that happen so often, or our brain misconstrues the situation and we go into that panic mode, and we're not in the alley anymore, right? We're laying in bed and we have a dream, and that dream triggers that place inside of our body, and our body responds to it the way that it was taught, or really reacts to it the way that it's supposed to. But unfortunately, it's not a current present experience, but the body doesn't know that. And so I wanted to just kind of represent that today, because we're going to be talking about what happens when we're dysregulated in our body, what happens when pain enters. And sometimes these painful situations exist, and we need to be prepared for them, and we're going to talk about that too. But I really just wanted to create context for everybody watching, and what happens when we're in a dysregulated place and we don't have coping mechanisms, and what happens as a result of today's conversation when we're in a dysregulated state. I didn't say if, when, because we all go into those, sometimes multiple times a day. How to release it in a way that's more of a healing space for ourselves, and more of a connected space for like the mature version of ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to shake this up, right? Some of us, when we get out of our car and it falls on the ground, it explodes, right? And that's what I want to kind of invite here. If I was to open this up right now and point this at you, what would happen?
It would probably give me a black eye,
right?
And explode everywhere.
Duck and hide, right? Yeah. And so that's what happens when we're dysregulated and we don't have capacity to navigate the space inside of us that's shaken up, that's dysregulated. The goal for today's conversation is to help people understand, like, it doesn't mean that we're not dysregulated. It just means we learn how to let it out slower, and let it out a little bit more gently, and give ourselves the space that we need, so that as we empty, as we regulate, we have a little spillage, but it's not everywhere on everybody else, our children, our family members, our co-workers, whatever it is, road rage, whatever that is. It's learning how to release it a little bit more slowly, a little bit more contained, so that we feel like we can be in control of ourselves when we feel completely out of control. So we'll probably use this metaphor throughout the day, right? Just really navigating, like, what does it look like to navigate that dysregulation inside of our body, and how to find a more peaceful state. Because now I can open it up, right? It might not taste as good anymore, but that's okay. I can still open it up, and I can still navigate now in a more regulated place, because I've released it slowly. And sometimes that slowly isn't 3 seconds like that just was. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. It depends on what we're navigating and what tools we have access to in the moment, and what kind of circumstances we're living in. So that's what we'll be discussing today as we approach this conversation.
And right, it's so much easier to take ownership of like that much spill out, compared to having a whole explosion and then having to go and pick up the pieces.
Oh, that's good.
Right, from everybody that like you're leaking out on towards. And then also like, and most of the time, right, that's just not happening once in a blue moon if we're in that state. It might happen like every day, every week, every month. Like, it's a continuous pattern, most likely, if we're not learning how to regulate ourselves or handle it in a more healthy manner.
Gosh, what you just said was so profound. When you think about it, oh, we want to break these cycles, right? And how much more difficult is it after a night of a blowout where you've exploded all over somebody, to wake up the next morning and not feel defeated, not feel shame, not feel all sorts of feelings, to only go back into that dysregulated place. And so to your point, like, how awesome would it be, is it, when we do have the ability to say, I need a timeout, I need to go take a bath, all the things we're going to talk about today, I am not going to vomit all over you, explode all over you, so that when I wake up tomorrow morning, I don't have a lot of repair to make, because I did find a way to regulate myself in a more positive way. Huge point. I'm so grateful you said that.
Yeah, because when we get to that place, right, our emotions are in control of us instead of us being in control of our emotions, right? And then the next day, right, we feel shame or all these feelings. And then most of the time, if it's a pattern, that other person, if they have solid boundaries, they're kind of like, I don't care. This isn't my problem. Like, you keep doing this. Like, I can't hold space for this for you anymore. Right? And then the shame, the defeat, right, goes more extreme. And for some people, right, that comes out as anger, frustration, because looking inward's a lot harder than being like, oh, this is your problem, but you're not hearing me out. Right?
So you're naming a cycle in session. For those of you that have been in sessions where we've done the infinity loop, this is a huge space that we hold, because it's like, she keeps doing this and he keeps doing this, and it's like, okay, well, let's look at the cycle and understand how this continues to perpetuate. And when we think about it, you're identifying that somebody is not enabling this behavior. But I have many clients that for a long time have enabled behavior like this. And honey, calm down. It's going to be okay. Let's go shopping. Let's whatever, go to the next party tonight or whatever it is, right? And then that cycle continues because we're saying it's okay. So it actually is really healthy when people choose to exit the cycle, regulate their experiences inside of their body, but also speak their truth when it isn't regulated and it doesn't feel good for them. So good, Cal.
And knowing too, right? When you choose to exit the cycle, that doesn't mean it's rainbows and butterflies, right? You're going through a lot of hard things because you're setting that boundary. You're like, okay, like I care about us enough that I'm stepping outside of this for both of us. The other person's probably not going to handle that very well, right? If they're not able to regulate themselves. So knowing that, taking that first step, right? You're going to have to go through like some muddy water before you end up like in a little spring, right?
Yeah, relearning, right? Reteaching ourselves, renegotiating things that maybe for some of us have been decades long, right? I call that our robotic state. We just know to go into reaction. We just know to go into explosion. We know to go into fixing, right? So it's a whole new situation.
Okay, so walk me through a little bit because I love like the term, right? Like the body keeps the score, right? Sometimes when we're so detached from ourselves, we become numb, right? You have so many clients that come in and say like, I'm numb. I don't really feel or think anything about this, right? So sometimes our body tells us signs prior to our feelings being able to make things aware, right? Like maybe we have like a chronic illness, right? Or maybe like our body gets tense. Like kind of just like walk me through some of those things for people that are maybe so detached from their feelings that they're like, I don't even know when I'm about to get to this point because I go from like 0 to 100.
Right.
There's no signs. Like tell us like what are some signs that maybe people aren't aware that they can be paying attention to?
And the key word here is unaware. For so long in my life, because I lived at this constant state of dysregulation, that was what I thought was normal, right? So when my head hit the pillow at night and I fell asleep, that was what I thought you did. I didn't know you could have a bedtime routine or a space to take deep breaths before bed. I just thought it was go, go, go till you couldn't go anymore, fall asleep, and do it again the next day. And people listening might be like, yeah, that's crazy hearing that, right? Because I can speak it out loud. I didn't know that. For almost 3 decades, I lived like that. My mom, probably more like 6 decades, right? Many of the people that I see, it's been a long time coming because it started initially as a survival mechanism, right? I had to learn to, what my adaptive method was to learn to be resilient, but like an overcomer, an overachiever. And so from a very early age, because of my life experiences, I was shaken up, but this was my normal, right? And because I wasn't exploding all over people, because mine was to go more inside myself and like find what everybody else was doing so that I could fix the situation or become useful, I never realized that this fuzz, right, this carbonation was inside of me. So I think it's really important to say that's the first step to really understanding that like there's something that lives inside of our body that's telling us. Our bodies are created to tell us these things, but if we stopped listening to our body early on, if we normalize some of these experiences, we don't even know that these things are happening inside of us. And so what happens is it's kind of almost like a light switch in our body. The light switch goes off, it tells our brain to do something, and our brain just does it, and we don't even know that there's a feeling that comes up. Or to our point from one of our other podcasts, we end up in the ER thinking we're just having chest pain. In reality, our body's been screaming at us for years and we've never been listening. Or I meet a 40-year-old woman or man who has lived in this constant dysregulation and their nervous system is shot. And the tools or the experiences or this like hypervigilant state that they lived in no longer can happen because they don't have the hormonal balance anymore. They're in a place of a lot of fog. Their body's going through changes. And so now their body's breaking down and it's like they can't hide the body can't hide the message, or their brain can't hide the message anymore. And so here they are, right, scrambling like something's wrong with me. And the reality is something has been wrong for a lot longer than you've realized. And so it does start, like you said, with the awareness that there is is something. Our body is speaking to us, and it doesn't mean that it's cancer. It could be, but it doesn't mean that it's cancer. It doesn't mean that we're, right? Indigestion could be the sign of that anxiety, right? Heart palpitations could be the sign that we're carrying too heavy a load. Headaches, tension, stress between your shoulder blades. These are all mechanisms in which our body's saying, listen, something doesn't feel good. But until you know it, can you even begin to listen? And then, even then, transitioning from like feeling these things to a more calm state can sometimes be extremely scary for people. In fact, some people's first yoga sessions on their mat are really difficult for them. You'll see them fidgeting and really uncomfortable, keeping their eyes wide open, because that state of peace, even though we're like, yes, relaxation, like me, I didn't know what that even felt like. So it was actually really uncomfortable for me when I first started understanding like what it felt like to have peace in my body.
So, right, the importance of being able to like sit in the uncomfortable and trusting yourself and trusting the process. And even just like I hear you say, like kind of opening your like perspective, like observing or exploring what's going on, because sometimes you have kids or work or all these stressors and you don't have time to slow down and, right, maybe even struggling to sit with yourself. But when you're not able to allow yourself to maybe think about what's going on, you can't even allow for yourself to see if something feels weird, because you're just going through the motions. You have to wake up, you have to do this. Like there's no time to pause and be like, wait a minute, I always get headaches like around this time when this happens. Like, why is that? Like there's no realm for that, right? And then we're conditioned to say, I have a headache, I'm going to take medicine, it's going to go away, and that's that. Or I have a headache, I'm going to go take a nap, I'll wake up, I'll be fine, and then I have to trek through the rest of the day. But we don't give it much thought to look more inward or look deeper at it and see the deeper root to it.
It's so good, Callie. There's so much to unpack here, right? But to simplify it, it's like the first question I ask is, where do you feel that in your body? And oftentimes my clients are like, they look at me like, I gotta think about that for a minute, right? The reason I ask that question, though, bringing in a metaphor again, is that our car has a dashboard, and on our dashboard we have all these blinking lights and all these mechanisms that tell us what's going on in parts of the car we can't see. We listen to that. When our fuel light comes on, we go to the gas station. When our check engine light goes on, we go to the mechanic. When our flat tire indicator goes on, we fix a flat tire, right? We know what to do in those situations. What if people started listening to their body and it was like, that's your indicator window. Your body is telling you something's not okay. You're not feeling safe. Something's not right here. And you listen to it. How much more could we start releasing this in a way that goes, oh, so when I feel that pain in my body and I'm having an argument with my son, that is not like a problem that I need to go to the doctor for. That's not something I want to react to. That's not something I want to drink and numb. This is something I want to listen to and maybe go on my walk for the day. Maybe go do another experience that invites like a different alternative for that place inside of you.
And like for that metaphor, like knowing you're in the driver's seat, right? Like you don't have to put somebody else in it. Like the person that knows you the best is yourself, right? Which sometimes for some people that can be such a scary concept, right? Because maybe you want to turn to a doctor or you want to turn to your fitness instructor or whatever to say like, oh, this is happening, this is really weird, because we put them in charge of knowing those things, right? And I feel like they can be helpers, but you are in the driver's seat and allowing yourself to be in it, to get curious, to kind of figure some of those things out yourself, and then maybe grabbing some more context clues like along the way.
That's so good, Callie. Yeah.
So kind of just like, I guess, open up the floor, kind of like let me know or let us know what it's been like for you, like incorporating somatic healing and maybe in your sessions or even through your own experience. I know you said a little bit of like you on the mat and how that was for the first time, but maybe how do you feel like this concept has shifted or changed for you when adding the somatic component to it? I had a word, but it went that way. That's fine.
Cool. Yeah, and so I think it's good to preface this too with saying I've worked with a lot of trauma survivors, a lot of sexual abuse survivors, and in my practice with them, I found myself having great success with opening up the conversation, creating a safe space to maybe be the first person that they share these trauma experiences with, even creating awareness and maybe allowing for the pattern to become more aware, evident for them, and just cultivating a beginning step for them to feel a little bit more free. What I started to notice as my career continued and I started to do more deep work is that it kind of like leveled off there for me as I continued to work with, and I would pass them off to maybe a trauma therapist or a fitness instructor, or wherever it felt like their life was flowing. I would like say, okay, let's spend some time in this place. I'm now seeing that it would have been so incredible to be able to offer them what I now know in somatic healing. And so somo is the word for the Greek word for body, right? And so it's body healing, and that would have been, and it is now, right? I'm trusting that the process was what the process was, but I now understand that when my clients kind of level off, it's then time to start doing the body healing. Body healing isn't always comfortable at the beginning, so I always like to kind of start in the head. So many of my clients have like cut themselves off here. They don't allow, to your point about being numb, to go this far. They stop listening to that, because if I'm being sexually abused and I don't have any control over the situation, I'd rather stay up here and try to find somewhere else to go with it. So I'm going to shut myself off from feeling anything below the neck, right? My heart, my body. And so oftentimes it is kind of like this, after a little bit of therapy and a little bit of understanding and creating awareness, then it is inviting the body healing. And I'm learning as I'm on this adventure for myself, but also with my clients, is that when that happens, this can be then lived experience for them outside of the session, right? So now they have head knowledge, that now they're having heart knowledge, and then they can understand their body in a whole different way. And so as they navigate the world outside of therapy, because therapy doesn't, we say that healing isn't a destination, it's a journey, but it doesn't mean therapy needs to be on that journey the entire time. And so my goal as a therapist is not to have people in my office every week, right? Certainly I will sit with them, please hear that. But I want to make sure that we're giving them tools here that they can then live a life that doesn't feel so maybe dependent on therapy. So living in this somatic world is offering them places they can take this to themselves. Breath work, body movement, the understanding and awareness of what our body's talking to us, listening deeper within ourselves, sitting with ourselves more embodied. These are all experiences that somatic healing offers.
So I feel like something that we pride ourselves on is being able to make sure that we go through the experience prior to bringing it to clients, right? Because I feel like if we're preaching to go to therapy but we've never done it, right, it doesn't feel right. It feels icky. So I hear like how you're bringing it into sessions with your clients, how you feel like it's helpful, the goals with it. But for yourself, once you entered this space, I know it was super random and not very intentional, and you kind of just like listened to what you felt like you were being called to do. But how do you feel like it's changed your life, or how do you feel like it's added to your life?
Yeah, and this is like a shout out to Kula Wellness, where I practice yoga. And let's start with saying that yoga has always had a stereotype in my mind. It's always felt hokey, or it felt like something that I just didn't do. I just had judgment around it. I don't know exactly where that judgment came. I went to a few classes in my late 20s that felt weird to me. The smells were weird. I just had a lot of judgment around it. And so I didn't really understand it, didn't really spend a lot of time in it. Maybe I even thought it was stretching, but didn't understand it. I have the picture of the person that's sitting cross-legged with their hands in this position. And so when it was actually you, Cal, that said, hey, now that we're doing this fitness thing together, what if we went to a yoga class as kind of like a treat? And I'm like, okay. So going with an open mind, curious, I'm a lot older this time. I was absolutely shocked by how different of an experience I had. It wasn't hokey at all. It wasn't weird. It was everything we were doing in my office, except I was doing it with myself now, and being led into breath work, being led into a meditation, being led into movement that is trauma informed, actually, right? Like we do this in EMDR, we're trying to focus on the left and right side and integrate trauma. I mean, yoga does that in its own way, and it's amazing. And so I started understanding it. I think I told you on the way home that one day, I said, Callie, I haven't felt like this in a very long time. And so, in light of, I don't even know if I ever felt like it, but I just remember telling you, like, this is insanity how amazing I feel right now. I was dripping sweat. I was just more connected to myself. So much so that that became a habit. We started going weekly, and then I couldn't get enough of it. I started going more frequently without you. And then they offered this teacher training. I'm like, I'm supposed to do it. And now I go every day most of the time. And I don't like life without it because it sets my day up. It gives me space to really focus on the inside of me. And some people might say, I do this on my own. Yes, and you can. For me, knowing myself, discipline is a really hard thing for me, consistency. So when I have accountability, I do so much better. And at Kula Trauma Informed, they are amazing. And to be perfectly honest, it's not all the stuff that some of my Christian friends have said. It's really trauma informed. And if we can understand that yoga is about being the best version of ourselves, being the most centered version of ourselves, so we can be the best follower of Jesus, we can be the best mom, we can be the best daughter, we can be the best everything, but most important, the best self. We're more integrated. We're not robots anymore. We start the day embodied, understanding, and aware. So that's what it's meant for me. And clearly I'm here talking about it because it's that important.
So I hear you saying that it helps center you, right? And I think knowing that you might go to a yoga class and you might be like, Lisa, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but that's not what I experienced. And knowing it's the same thing with therapy, right? Like not one situation or class or therapist embodies everybody. So you might have to feel it around a little bit. But overall, like I hear you saying, like you found something that's yours that helps center you for the day, for the week, for the month. So when you have to sit in spaces with all your clients or you have to go home to your kids and things are crazy, it helps center you. So I think it's about your clients being able to find something like that in their life that's theirs that helps center them.
Absolutely. And also to mention that we have science to back breath work. Breath is the number one way to regulate our nervous system. And when we know how to do it, we can access it everywhere we go, right? In a car before an interview, right before bed, before we're about to have a hard conversation with somebody. That breath is available in the bathroom, wherever, right? And then we have research to show how meditation actually provides people that have high blood pressure, like there's science to support how effective meditation can be for the body and some of the diseases that live inside of us.
And I think even, highlighting, like when I have kids come in and we talk about breath work or different things like that, they're like, what the heck, right? Because it's not taught, right? If our parents aren't teaching it to us or it's not learned in school, like they're just like, this feels really weird, like opening one eye, making sure I'm doing it with them. It can be super helpful, but knowing like sitting in the discomfort, like it's not gonna feel amazing right away. You have to sit in the uncomfortable and trust the process.
Oh, and that's so good because your Back to School podcast had Sydney on it, and so I'm going to be talking about her for a minute.
She's going to love that.
This summer, she didn't have soccer for a whole month, and she actually, which I'm so grateful, realized pretty early on that without soccer practice, she's not sleeping as well. And when she gave that indicator light to me, I immediately jumped on it, and I said, Sid, I want you to come to yoga with me and get some experience moving your body in a different way. Come on, mom, right? And you'll understand because you'll watch that podcast. And if you haven't, now you will because she's a funny girl. But nonetheless, it was amazing because she's gone with me several times now, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to leave the house at 5:30, and she wants to go back, as long as she doesn't have soccer practice. But she's been enjoying that experience. So to your point, it's like sometimes we have to hold that space, even if it feels weird, because they don't understand what they don't understand. And until we hold that space for them and kind of offer that understanding to them, they're going to push away from it because it isn't, like you said, a common practice. It's not something that we're all talking about all the time. It's like, oh, you want me to do the woo-saw? No, right? It's like, that's not what we're talking about. But when it's so uncommon, yeah, we will say like, oh, you're just like doing that woo-saw thing, mom. Okay, right? But nonetheless, it's still just not incorporated in our everyday culture. It's still kind of out there. And so I do believe this is the next place for our healing.
And just even being able to walk alongside your kids and being able to even sit with her and just say, I know, I thought this too, right? And just being able to name it instead of like having all the pieces figured out, because I think that allows for more connection.
Absolutely, girl.
Okay, so I guess I'll give you two options and you can pick what you want to do. So I kind of just want to know, like, closing out, if somebody's like on the fence of maybe incorporating some somatic healing or what that kind of looks like, what are some words of wisdom that maybe you'd have? And then if we have the time, you could show us a little breath work, like little sneak peek. Up to you.
I think let's do the breath work because I think we've done a really good job of kind of explaining what this looks like. I think it needs to be guided to walk through it initially till you become really good at doing it. But that's like everything. We like to be held as we navigate things. So I'm going to invite that conversation. I'm going to invite you, and if our podcast team wants to do it too, let them feel it too. But just negotiating this. So you're probably on a walk right now in your car. You're probably walking through the grocery store, wherever you are. This isn't going to be something that you can do right now. Listen to my words and then maybe replay this and keep it on replay if you want, as you begin to integrate what this might look like at your home, in your own experience. And if it feels weird initially, that's okay. That's what we want to say, is that it's not familiar, so it will be weird. And so we want to just offer ourselves the space to understand that. So would you join me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to invite everybody, when you're ready, to close your eyes, put 2 feet on the floor, right? Just really come into this place and space. We close our eyes because there's this mechanism in our eyes that kind of can see things and judge things, and so we're really closing our eyes and almost turning them inward to ourselves. Right? So we're just going to come into this place, noticing how comfortable or uncomfortable you are with this connection to self. And just so we can understand the breath, I'd like you to put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. And I want to teach us how to breathe from the diaphragm, the most effective breath to calm those bubbles, that dysregulation inside of you. And so listen to my words and then we'll do it together. I want you to envision a balloon in your belly. And as you inhale through your nose, it's almost as if we're going to blow that balloon up in your belly, pushing the belly button away from the spine, really filling it to the tippy top. And then as we exhale, that balloon is going to deflate and that belly button is going to come back to the spine. And we're going to try to take deep breaths. We're so used to, in our world, taking shallow breaths, maybe not even being in tune to the breaths that we take. So together, let's take a deep inhale through our nose, blowing that balloon up in your belly, holding it there. And slowly release, exhale through the nose, bringing that belly button closer to the spine. Let's do that again, this time becoming very aware of what our shoulders feel like as we inhale, the back, and then exhale, releasing. How do your shoulders feel? How does your back feel? And this time we'll inhale, noticing your hips, tops of your legs, and exhale, release. Let's do that again. Inhale through your nose. Hold there. Integrating the whole body, release. Just taking the opportunity to realize maybe the difference between when you originally shut your eyes to where you are now. Maybe even noticing how natural it is to stay in that deeper breath. Maybe even notice that you can hear things you couldn't hear before. Maybe your mind and your thoughts turned off for a second. We're just going to start with our toes as a scan, kind of like the things they use when you're walking through one of those detectors at the airport. We're just going to kind of envision that going over our body as we just kind of become in touch with what our body's telling us. So we'll start with our toes. Move over our shins. Connect with our knees, tops of our legs. Not connecting or attaching to anything our body's telling us, just listening. It starts here. Connect to our hips. Move over our abdominal, rib cage, lower back, up through our chest and our shoulders. Moving over our neck and our jaw. Stopping here. Another opportunity we can do to support our nervous system is separate our teeth, maybe even find the tongue at the top of the mouth. Right? So many of us clench our teeth at night. There's this natural place, intentional place of dropping that jaw and moving the tongue to the top of the mouth. Over the cheekbones and the eyes and the top of the head. And sitting with yourself for a moment. Observing, not absorbing what your body was telling you. Taking notice. Just like that car and the indicator lights. What might your body want you to know today? How might you choose to meet the indicators that it offered you today? And we'll finish with a deep breath together, this time inhaling through the nose and exhaling everything out. Take a deep inhale, fill that belly. Hold at the tippy top and release. And when you're ready, begin to open your eyes and find yourself connected to this space.